What up, Kim folks? It's Mike D. What's good? It's Blazi Blah Podcast, where we connect, build, and break bread with our Kim folks. Guess who's in the motherfucking house? Let's go! Who that?
My name's Arvin. Sorry. I feel like I just kind of woke up, even though I had my coffee this morning. But my name's Arvin. I own Anak.
Anak. Is it Anak vintage or is it just Anak?
It's just Anak right now. We're trying to because I don't want to get it confused with there's a bunch of vintage clothing businesses. So I don't want to get even though we take our designs from that bootleg 90s type culture.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, so now you're just kind of differentiating and now making a rebranding as just Anak?
Yeah, because I don't want to get confused because there's a lot of vintage businesses online now.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, we don't sell straight up vintage clothing.
Anak.
Yeah, you'll see.
It's a streetwear clothing company. Okay, what is Anak? What is Anak to you, and why did you start it?
It's it kind of come from the experiences. I got more inspired during the pandemic about streetwear and what that can mean with the Filipino experience. So Anak kind of comes from how kids are always with or making the trend, continuing to make what's cool and stuff. So kind of pulls from that experience, but also as a Filipino American. Okay. There's so many nuances in the Filipino American diasporic experience. So it's kind of that. So it's kind of that's why our tagline is kids reaching for the past in the context of the future, or kids reaching for the future in the context of the past.
For sure.
Because where we take our history is where we go forward. That's how we kind of see where we're going and stuff.
Hey, you gotta know your history so to know where you're going, right?
Yeah.
For real. So before we go deep into that, my first question to everyone is, what is your migration story? How did you or your family get to the U.S.?
Yeah. So I was actually born in Toronto, Canada.
Toronto?
Yeah, the six, Scarborough. Actually, I was born in North York, but I moved here when I was 7, and I moved to Union City. So I grew up. I rep Union City most of my life, but I'm Canadian.
The Union.
Yeah, the Union. West Side Union. for those who know.
How did y'all get into Canada?
I like telling my parents' migration story because theirs is more interesting than mine.
Okay.
Because it's so my mom, both my mom and dad are from the same part of the Philippines.
Okay.
My mom, she migrated a lot of places. She lived in Israel. She lived in Canada, Florida. My dad moved to LA when in his early 20s, late. Around that, when around younger than my age right now. But they always tell me, actually, we were just on a SoCal trip we're all vaccinated.
Okay.
But they always whenever we're in SoCal, we always drive by the Wax Museum, which is now torn down in Buena Park. Okay. And they're this is where we had our first date in LA.
Oh, so, that's cute.
Yeah. And then so both my mom and my dad have siblings in Toronto. So that's why they kind of settled there. Okay. But yeah, it's it was an adventure for them. I'm y'all traveled more than me. Oh. Growing up, in the mid-20s, I'm just I need to.
That's kind of dope. Being able to your parents showing the story of how they met. Yeah. That's kind of cool. Yeah. So they met in the U.S.
Yeah. Okay. So it was weird because they were going back from Toronto too. So it's just they had their first dates in LA and stuff. Right. And then now we're back in the Bay. So I was
that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, I always ask in terms of people's migration story. Just for me, my intent is to build and get to know folks, and it's a great insight in terms of where people come from and provide perspective on where they are in terms of the background in regards to class, working class, or if you are a professional, and where you're raised. And so it's important to me to get to know folks in that sense. And so, yeah.
That's hella important.
Yeah. So now you're in the Yun.
Yeah. Well, I don't live there right now. I actually live in Alameda right now. So.
Oh, okay. Same area.
Yeah.
Close enough.
East Bay,
Oh, man. So what was your inspiration in terms of creating Anak Vintage or Anak currently?
Yeah, man, like during the pandemic, I just got like, I need to do something, you know?
Right.
So I wanted to do something more creative. So I started a lot of creative projects on the side because I was working as an organizer.
Organizer with?
Filipino Advocates for Justice.
Hey, FAJ. Shout out to FAJ. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, this is actually, last month was my last month working with them too.
Okay.
Yeah, now I'm a freelance doing a lot of different things right now. But yeah, I wanted to start something creative.
Okay.
And I saw like Complex and Parsons School of Design had like a course online for streetwear.
Okay.
So I took that. And like I was also reading, I read Bobby Hundreds Is Not a T-Shirt.
Bobby Hundreds.
Yeah, that's a good book. Even if you're not into like streetwear and stuff, that's good for like entrepreneur or like getting inspired and stuff. Because I kind of like had similar goals as him. And like I kind of like, I want to do something that kind of represents who I am and my experiences, but not like super cheesy.
Right.
But being able to like display the stories in a way that's like kind of like on the echelon of like trendy and stuff,
right?
Kind of, but like also like being able to tell our stories too at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, that's always a challenge, right? Like, especially as a Filipino, as a migrant community, like we want to tell our stories, but then we also, because we are in America. And the culture, in a sense, is different.
Yeah,
we have to recreate and rebrand a sense of like, how do we get or allow people to accept, us in a sense, right? So I think, that's a challenge in regards to being a graphic designer. A lot of Filipino artists is like, yes, we can create art, but then how is that acceptable? Or how the people in America would accept that art, which is a challenge, right? So like not every Filipino like kind of how you say are drawn into just Filipino culture. You know what I mean? Because they're trying to make it in the USA, and sometimes they feel like it's not necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, like I had an experience like people would tell me like, oh, why do I need to wear something Filipino? I already know that I am. Right? I'm like, okay. But they're actually like wearing something that represents another culture.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you see this, contradiction, you know what I mean? And so why not represent you? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, check out the background, check out the TV. This is the Anak website. Okay. Who created the website?
It's actually, so Anak is two people. I'm more of like the business part, and he's more like the web dev and the graphic design.
So you're the Anak, he's the pinsan. I'm joking. I'm playing. So there's two people doing Anak. Okay. You're the graphic designer?
No, kind of like we share the ideas and stuff.
Okay.
But he has more of the like illustrator skills and stuff.
Okay.
But
what do you bring to the table?
It's more like the creative, like kind of like the storytelling and vision of it. So kind of like we draft the ideas and stuff, because I don't necessarily like I'm building on those skills right now for like illustrating and stuff. But like at the moment where I saw like I couldn't like be able to get my ideas executed, so I hit my homie up and I was like, hey, I have this idea. You want to like go for it? And he was like, yeah, dude, like let's go.
Okay.
His name's Steven. Shouts out to Steven.
Shout out to Steve. He's the artist. Yeah, I mean, I do a little dabble in terms of like design, but I'm not an illustrator.
Yeah.
And so like I'm a fan of art, period.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of artists out there that I'm like, damn, I wish I could do that shit.
Yeah, like I still look at that. I'm like, y'all are talented. That's a real art.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
art,
crazy. At my previous recording of the podcast is I had Michelle C. draws. She's a dope artist, and she draws like diwatas. She draws like Philippine mythology, but the Visayan mythology.
Yeah, I see those. Those are super dope.
Yeah. Shout out to Michelle. So yeah. But yeah, so in terms of the website, I'm looking at it right now. If y'all could see, and you have your front page. We're taking you back to the 90s. So what is that theme all about, and how did you come up with it?
I mean, again, like Anak's like kind of like the subtleties of like the Filipino experience. So it's kind of like our iconography is kind of like more of like if you know type stuff. Well, this one's kind of like a collab with like my old Filipino org back in college, just because they're doing a PCN on Kai. famous like Filipino boy band in the 90s too.
Okay.
So kind of like builds off like, I mean, a lot of like our design like iconography comes from like the 90s.
Right.
So it kind of like makes sense to like put these artists like officially co-signed on like these shirts. So
talk about this, the shirts, the design that you have. This too.
Yeah, like right now we're putting out just like bootleg type tees too, like the 90s rap tee style. We're kind of like taking a break from like our collection pieces right now, but we do have some stuff coming up. These two shirts right now, Jocelyn Enriquez and Kai. If you know Jocelyn Enriquez, you know she had like one of the hit singles in the 90s.
Right. What song is that? What song do you know?
I didn't grow up in the 90s. I was like 5, 6.
Do you?
I know when I heard it, I was like, oh, this is her. I was like, oh shoot. I heard this in the bowling alleys when I was like a kid.
She is definitely a classic artist, great artist. And actually, we had a fundraising for NAFCON. NAFCON is National Alliance for Filipino Concerns. If you're interested in organizations, Filipino organizations, check that out. But we had a fundraising, and we reached out to her if she would be down to perform. And she was hella down. She's currently in Texas right now, and she has a family over there. And man, everybody was just like waiting for her to just perform, and she was dope as fuck. And she is super nice. She's a super nice, kind person, and she was just willing to contribute her talent, and she was dope. So check it out.
I think it's dope because like we're actually got the sign off from them through PASA as well.
Oh, you reached out to them?
Cool. Yeah, we had like PASA had an event with them too, and like we're doing these shirts with PASA.
Okay.
And yeah, they had an event with them, and it was cool. Like also just being able to hear their stories at the same time, and they were like, "Oh yeah, the shirts are dope," and I was like, "Oh dude, sign out." Let's go.
To the folks that are watching or listening, what were your favorite bands, Filipino artists or R&B groups in the 90s? Comment below. You know what I mean? There's so many.
That's a good one.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there was Pinay. There was did you remember any?
Man, well, I mean, remember I was in Toronto?
Oh yeah, okay.
I moved here to like 2002.
Okay. Okay, so you don't know.
So I came on the next generation, like the YouTube generation.
That's dope. And but check out the other collections also. And you have Rizal, and you have the Lapu Lapu bootleg style shirt. So yeah, make sure you check out anakvintage.com. Anak. Yeah, man. Wow. Yeah. So what is been the biggest struggle in creating and putting out this clothing brand, Anak?
Dude, it's been like, it's hard, like actually like maintaining like clothing. I mean, you of course know, I've been doing it for years, but like it's a different like. I know we talked about this like earlier too at a different day, but like how like the landscape for like, you know, owning a clothing brand too is like way different because a lot of it's like shifting to e-commerce, making sure you have like a website, and it's more about like having experiential, like, you know, when you have like a brand identity, so being able to tell your story as a brand and how y'all are different from other ones too.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to be able to keep that and maintain like what we're trying to like do as like, you know, as a platform, as a brand and stuff. Yeah. But also like being sustainable as well. Because a lot of the stuff that comes out from like what we make, because we had like a Lorena Barros tee, and like, you know, we donated all those funds to like Malaya movement and stuff. So it's like, you know, we do a lot of like fundraising, because, you know, I'm a believer in like mutual aid and stuff, being able to like give back.
And also was a community organizer. Yes.
Yeah, you know, as a community organizer coming from that background.
Okay.
But also trying to like maintain and be able to like, because it's a lot of work, and like also like I'm always trying to be cognizant of like I'm not trying to like pimp myself and stuff.
Yeah,
you know, I should be able to get paid for the work that we do. So it's a balance.
Sure, that's the hard part.
Yeah, I know. It's hard, you know.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this quarantine, in this pandemic, like building a brand requires like being out there in the community and like building with people. You know, you go to like events. You go to your local events, local open mics. You have local events that are focused on like streetwear. You know what I mean? Like we don't have that now.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Now you become like relying on social media and online.
Hell yeah.
And so, what's your approach in regards to like online marketing? If folks are curious, if you're starting out a brand, and how to like market online, like what's your approach on that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, if Instagram, like, you can see the changes of that. A lot of it's switching to like a marketplace and stuff. Like, especially if you use social media, because that's like a lot of like where we get our sales funnels and stuff, and how we get like our brand visibility is like, we could probably do a better job at it too. But like having like consistent like content coming out,
which is hard.
Yeah, which is hard. It's harder than you think. Posting every day.
Yeah.
That's hard, but like not like quality like posts too.
Yeah, I mean you can post every motherfucking minute, but it's a matter of like quality also. Like, so how do you balance the consistency and also the quality in regards that's in line with your brand?
Yeah, it's hard because, I'm very much of a perfectionist, but I also heard from like a different podcast too, as long as that stuff gets out, because you could have all this knowledge and stuff, but even like if it's not out there, then like what's the point? You're just keeping it to yourself, and there's no point.
Okay. What's your IG handle? Let them know.
My IG, my personal?
Oh no, you're the Anak.
It's at Anak ANAK.VIN.
.VIN, Anak.vin.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put the link. And what's your website?
It's anakvintage.com.
So yeah, make sure you check that out.
Yeah.
Anakvintage.com. So what has been the biggest victory starting out this clothing brand?
Man, I thought it was just gonna be a passion project, like probably just for like the homies to like pick up and just like. I think just creating a website and a brand itself was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But also like having that I have to worry about taxes about it now. I think that's a blessing. You know, that I have to like, oh shoot, like this can actually be like economically viable and stuff.
Right.
To actually like, because I don't make that much money. Like,
yeah.
But like it was cool, like starting a business and being able to like see this perspective of that. And also just being able to build with other folks who own also brands too.
Yeah.
Being able to talk to them, talk to you.
Yeah. For me, like, I've been doing this work for a minute, and if folks want to reach out to me, I always share my knowledge and any resources that are needed, and that's the best that I can do. And I think not a lot of people do that because in a sense it's very competitive.
Yeah.
But to me, we don't have to compete. Like, there's enough room and enough just for everyone.
It's community.
Yeah. We have to build a community, and that's why I wanted you to come here. Like, like you also are doing Filipino stuff, and I'm doing Filipino stuff, and I'm like, no, like come through. I want to showcase the work that everyone's doing in the community. And I want to like uplift in a sense, like, so make sure you support. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what we gotta do.
Yeah.
So, but have you like ran into someone or to other entity that are like competitive with you?
Not really. I mean, it's different because it's a pandemic. I'm sure like
you'll run into it.
Maybe we'll see. I feel like a lot of like I guess like my generation too, because like we grow up with like the strains of like, dang, we gotta like come up in capitalism and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, like competitive, like, that is healthy in a way, but like as long as it's like, it's more like when you text someone like, oh, my shirt's gonna be better, but it's like not serious. That's like healthy competition. It's like you're still homies, but you still want to like
There's
like flex on each other.
Well, you have to have that friendship and that relationship to be able to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, my shit's better than yours. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, honestly, for the most part, like we never got like any like, oh yeah, we're super competitive. Like mostly like other people who own brands too. Like I talk to, like, we just kind of like bounce ideas too, and like,
I mean that's the best way to build. You know what I mean? So before you started Anak, were there other Filipino brands or streetwear brands that are Filipino owned that you looked at and you like, kind of modeled it in some way, or just kind of inspired you? What
like Filipino brands?
Yeah.
Like, I feel growing up, I mean, I've seen your stuff growing up too.
Okay.
I've seen like Bayani art stuff growing up.
Okay.
I don't know, like other like Filipino brands. I mean, mostly like I think y'all too.
Oh, because you're in the Bay. You're in the Bay. That's why.
I grew up in the Bay, so like I've seen y'all stuff growing up.
Yeah. Shout out to Bayani Art, another Bay Area Filipino brand. So yeah, make sure y'all check that out.
Yeah. Also Empire, like in college too. I was
Empire in the Air.
Empire in the Air.
Hey.
That stuff is dope
Shout
too.
out to Chichai.
Yeah, shouts out. Yeah. Dude, yeah.
Yeah, I mean we're all a community and we fuck with each other, you know what I mean? We build, you know what I mean? So again, no competition. We're all just trying to uplift each other. So make sure you all check out these local brands in the Bay Area.
Support a local brand. Support a local brand today.
I know. We just trying to eat, yo. We just trying to eat, you know what I mean? And so, man. So have you been to any festivals?
Like Filipino festival.
What am I asking you? Like you started on the pandemic.
Festival. I know. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
We were at a Undiscovered X, like the online one.
Oh, how did that go? Shout out to Undiscovered.
Yeah, shout out to Undiscovered.
They do a lot of events, but because of the pandemic, they've been doing a lot of online things. So, when things open up, make sure you check it out. Shout out to Undiscovered SF, definitely for sure. But so that was your first thing online.
Yeah.
So how is it doing an event as a streetwear, as e-commerce on online? How did that go?
It was interesting. I mean, I feel like everyone at the same time was kind of just trying to like make this new landscape, like online too. So I mean, we did get like we talked to a few people, but there wasn't like too many people coming through because there was like I feel like there was a lot of vendors too online. Okay. So and a lot of people like even I had troubles with the platform just because it was a new platform. So I'm sure like a lot of like participants were like, oh, how did
that work? I'm curious. Like you guys are online, and so people would, and there's many other online businesses and brands and other things that they're selling. Yeah. So how do people see you?
Yeah, it was like I mean they see us from the front page, like and also from advertising and stuff. But like, I know for Undiscovered X there were like a few main rooms and stuff where like the events, the speakers, and the singers would like be able to like like that's the main room, and then like people can go into like the vendors' rooms and talk to us if we're in there.
So then when people come to a vendor's room, you have a list of vendors.
Yeah.
And so how do they engage on a one-on-one, or they just engage the whole group?
No, it was like it's like separate. So each vendor has its like own kind of like Zoom room and stuff.
Oh, okay. So each room is a vendor that you can go into.
Yeah.
And then people engage with you.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that go? Like
it was I mean we had our homies roll through too.
Okay.
I feel like it was just hard for people to like like navigate each one too, and like whether we were going to be in their room at the time they were going to be in there.
Yeah.
But there were like automated messages when people come in and like, oh, they can see and contact us at here.
Okay.
I know my homie Steven was like DJing.
Yeah.
Because it was like kind of like a live stream and stuff. So we're trying to like keep it interesting and stuff,
you
know?
So your setup was you had a room, you had a DJ in the background?
Yeah, we had a DJ.
And you guys were like just waiting for folks to pop in?
Yeah. If like you want to chop it up with us, we're here.
Okay. Do you have a video of this? Did you record it?
It's like...
Did you record it?
It's on my laptop.
Okay. So you recorded it.
Yeah.
You should put it out.
I should.
Like it's an online shop, come through.
We're like trying to figure stuff out at the same time. Luckily, like, dude, shouts out to Steven again. He's also good at tech and stuff. Yeah. I'm only in business and marketing side, whatever.
That would be cool. Like when you come onto the website, that's what you see and it's interactive.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
It's actually live.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like other events too with like from other like more local brands, like having like online events with like DJs and creatives and stuff. And I feel like you just have to adapt. That's how people are adapting right now, having like online stuff. Yeah. To for people to like just see and feel like in community. So I think that's important. I know we should do it, but I just kind of like doing stuff like self-care, pandemic.
Right, it's stuff out here. So So in terms of 2020, again, the pandemic hits. How did that impact you on a personal level? You know what I mean? Like your mental health, your physical health. How did that play out for you?
Man, like it was hard. It was really hard just being able to like just function, be able to like, cause I was like the dude, I have like a lot of like other side gigs like on this side, and I'd be out every weekend. Like partying out in the club.
I mean, you're young for sure. Like you're out and about, right?
So I mean, like I was doing stuff on the weekends with another party fam. You know, we were doing like First Friday stuff.
Okay.
So I'd always be out helping out with like whatever they need and stuff.
Like the Oakland First Fridays?
The Oakland First Fridays.
Oh,
so I was
that's
helping
dope.
out with them. That's why I'd be like also like out every weekend.
Yeah.
Also like just being able to like travel, be
Yeah.
out with like homies and like be able to like, can you like talk about like, you know, what we're doing right now and but
Yeah.
like in person. It's hard, and then just adjust to like everything just halts. You know? And then like the other day I was just looking at like my December schedule.
Yeah.
And I had like something every weekend.
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
had, like a personal trip and stuff, and I was like, come March, I'm like, oh. You know, like
Stop, like halt everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first 3 weeks shelter in place quarantine was huge, right?
Yeah.
How did that play out for you the first 3 weeks?
Man, like I thought like, you know, like I was just like planning like, oh, like trying to like adjust to like this is gonna be for a while. Like I talked to some of my homies who like are doctors and you know.
Okay.
Can I say shit?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can say it's a late night show.
Okay, it's a late night show. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
my doctor friends and shit, like about like how long is this gonna last? And they were like, oh, till like end of like this year, like 2021. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
geez, this is gonna be for a while. But I think what it helped me do personally as well, though, despite like my life slowing down, it's also positive of my life slowing down and being able to be more reflective of like where I'm heading and where I'm going, and be able to like I should do the things that I want to do now, which is like, you know, like one of the reasons why I started Anak too.
For sure.
I'm also like do like a lot of like online learning courses just so like I feel like I'm doing something.
Oh, something productive.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that I'm like still like trying to better myself in the same way. It did help me slow down like my drinking.
It slowed you down to go out in the club.
Yeah, you know, it's like my liver is like, oh yeah, this is actually a good thing for me.
Some good came out of it.
Yeah.
So in terms of your reflection, like, yeah, because you had all this time to yourself and you had to like listen to your head.
Yeah, you know, all this time to my,
You have to, like-
especially the first 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh man, those were the hardest because I was very like I did not go out. I was just like in my like because I was staying at my parents' house at the time too, and I was
Okay.
just like, oh man, this is like I'm gonna play a lot of video games. You know?
So in terms of like self-reflection, what did you were able to reflect on self, and like in terms of like what did you find out about yourself, you know, in that moment?
Oh, I've been like getting personal with myself. I've been like trying to like touch myself, or not in that way.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
touch like you know
Internally,
like
soul,
the things. No,
the
no,
soul.
no.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like am I wrong?
It's all good. We got bloopers.
But like you know, like within myself, just
Yeah,
be able
yeah,
to like
yeah.
reflect on that. You know, I've
Yeah.
been reading books.
Ah,
Like Four Agreements. Four Agreements is a good book.
the 4 agreements.
Yeah.
Tell me about the 4 agreements.
Man, do I actually have it on my phone? It's my like phone screen right now.
Yeah.
See, oh, hold on. See, be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions. Do your best.
So did you used to take things personal?
Yeah, like you know, I feel like a lot of us take it, but like for me personally, like I was kind of like, now I reflected more upon like, okay, like why do I react a certain way?
Yeah.
Where does this feeling come from? And like I'm trying to like be more reflective of that too. So it's cool. I mean, the pandemic helped me like kind of like slow down and like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I need to fix my like personal self real quick.
For real.
Some like decolonizing work and
Right.
like all that stuff. Cause you know, it's just, you know, trying to like unlearn. I like reposted something the other day too. It's like trying to like undo these curses, like Kendrick Lamar's Damn. Like that whole album is about like trying to like undo generational curses and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and the whole point of the album is working on self and like looking at yourself in the mirror and like not denying any of your like mistakes in the past, but like you're also not defined by that.
Yeah.
You know, all that like kind of like interpersonal like
sure.
themes that you know.
Yeah, I think that's real. I think sometimes we don't take the time to reflect on ourselves, but look at the external things, the other people or the other situations outside of us, that those are the things that are a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we never had the time to actually, or take the time to actually like say, hey, I have my own contradictions.
Yeah.
And so what can I work on to be a better person in a sense? Yeah. I think in terms of the 4 agreements, there's one thing I struggle with. Impeccable with words.
Dude, it's hard. That's something I'm like really working on too. Like, you know, we're not gonna get it like 100%, but we're gonna try.
I mean it, but there's a lot of things that's happening. Sometimes I can't come through, but not at the moment, but I can come through at some point in time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'll make up to that time. So I struggle with like, you know, like, okay, I'm going to do all these things. But then I'm like, oh shit, I actually have a lot more things to like on my plate, you know what I mean?
It's always like that. Like you clean like one plate and you just see 20 other plates like under it.
Yeah. And so I think that's what I need to work on in regards to that 4 agreement. It's like I need to set myself up that I'm able to take in more versus like all things are piling up and then I take in more things.
Yeah.
And so that's what I need to work on in regards to the 4 agreements. What are the other agreements?
Let me check my phone. This is why I put
Be
it on my phone.
impeccable with your words.
Don't take personally.
Don't take it personal.
Don't make assumptions.
Oh, that's
a good one too. Don't assume.
And then work hard.
Yeah. Or do your best.
Yeah. Did you used to make assumptions?
Yeah, I mean it's like I'm a very analytical person, so I would like try to like think about.
You play out all the scenarios
like
inside.
I try, you know, and it's like, like I've learned more. Or I'm still learning more to like be able to like, all right, we should hear like all the sides, be able to like, you know, like understand. I think this goes with like communication with people because that's always like a hard thing.
Yeah.
I think especially with like Filipinos too, because it's like a lot of like us, just because, you know, we raise up in like this colonial mentality of like, you know, we have to be nurturing, we have to be caring people, and like, you know, we have to say like yes and like you know, put other people's needs before ours.
Right. Well, actually, you know what it is.
Yeah.
In terms of, because there's a feudal system that within our culture.
Yeah.
Within a family system, within a general culture, that we are afraid to actually express ourselves because of what they would react on, how people would react.
Yeah.
Culturally, and I mean, like society, the Philippines, like there are people that are expressing dissent, and when they express dissent, it is met with violence.
Yeah, it's like,
you know what I mean?
You know, yeah.
And so on a societal level and then a cultural level, and it reflects like our relationship within our family, that this feudal system of like the eldest knows the most, and if you're young, you can't express yourself because you will, you know, like what's that word, like sumasagot ka na?
Yeah.
Like you're talking back.
Yeah.
Actually, that comes from like not valuing the other person's.
Yeah.
No matter the age, young or old, like no, you have to allow to have the conversation.
Yeah.
And if you don't allow that, then how can you have a unity in terms of being able to communicate? And so that comes from like, oh shit, I can't express it. That means I can't communicate. That means I can't clarify.
Yeah.
So then it ends up as assumptions.
Yeah, you know, it's
you know what I mean?
we are doing curses out here.
Yeah,
you know?
and so we are sensitive. We all are sensitive.
Yeah.
But then because we can't express and we can't clarify and we can't communicate and come to a unity, we are making assumptions because we can't, you know, express it.
Yeah.
And so we think of all these things that what could be or what was said and what it meant to us or how it impacted us.
Yeah.
So then there's miscommunications in relationships without actually having to be able to like, oh no, this is how I felt.
Yeah.
How did you feel? Okay, let's figure out what's the.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And it's like, you know, like it's part of like our identity. Like we can't beat ourselves up with it.
Yeah.
But also like if we can identify it within ourselves.
Yeah.
And being able to like undo kind of like this like colonial trauma.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's only like success for our future generations too.
For sure.
You know?
It's like ending the cycle.
Yeah. Like, you know, just. I like always. I'm a big fan of Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
You know how like To Pimp a Butterfly before Damn came out was more of like trying to fix like the external problems too. So that's why when Damn comes out, it's more of a focus on internal in context of the external.
For sure.
So it's like being able to like, how can we inflict all this change with all, you know, the injustices happening in the world if we can't look ourselves in the mirror at the end of the day. And it's like, yeah, be truthful with ourselves, honest with ourselves.
It's so fucking cliche. It's like, oh, change comes from within.
Yeah, I used to always be like, I hate this shit, dude. Like I hear this shit all the time, and then like when I'm older, I'm like, oh,
right.
like, you know?
Oh, that's what it means. Like,
Yeah.
like people know it, or the saying, but I think we always have an idea of a practice, but doing it and practicing it, we don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
In the same way, like a lot of people talk about, oh, in relationship you have to communicate.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like that's like just known across the we just know that. Period. It's a common sense. But how you practice it, people might not know how to practice communication.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's hard. That's a real.
Because people just think that, oh, I express myself and I'm truthful.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say what I feel without understanding that what you feel and your truth might not be the truth for the other person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so how do you reconcile that your truth might not be the truth?
I mean, that's a learning process. Like I didn't even understand, like relationships until you go into like relationships.
Yeah.
Like, even just with friendships too, like relationships with anyone. It's like, it's continual. Like we're always learning as people, and like we always like make mistakes.
For sure.
So it's like, like for agreements too, as long as you're trying to be impeccable with your truth, and if that truth doesn't align, it's good to be honest and like, we don't align, so we should like talk about this and see if we'll make it work. But if it doesn't, then then it's y'all were truthful to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's what matters.
Yeah, we have to set expectations and set boundaries.
Yeah, and I'm not perfect either. For all of
we're all learning. We're all learning.
We're all learning.
For sure.
I'm trying to learn more.
Hey, I have my own contradictions, and I struggle with a lot of things. But I also I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to grow and develop from those contradictions.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts from actually just knowing your own contradictions. If you don't know, then you're not going to work on those things. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to do all that. So, yeah, but in regards to current contradictions, how do you feel about the current situations in regards to the violence against the Asian community? Man. You know what I mean? Yeah. Specifically, as a Filipino in America, Bill McCarry was just attacked in New York. Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about the whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, I personally had to like take a break from social media for a little bit too, just because it's a lot. I mean, again, like coming from like an ethnic studies background, like this is nothing new. This has only been escalating throughout the administration, throughout history, American history of, how Asians were always treated. This kind of like pan-Asian American movement, kind of like the first time this kind of movement came up with, was with like the death of Vincent Chin. With like, the automotive industry, he was a lot of Americans were mad at like, the Japanese for like taking or like making the American like automotive industry like kind of like falter a little bit. So, two workers like kill a Chinese man, he's not even like, and that was kind of like when Asian Americans started like growing up and formed the term of Asian Americans of like, oh, this could be me. And that's like, it's coming up again too. Like, the past 4 years, like there was a lot of this like anti-Asian like language being used. Yeah. And it's just, it was bubbling up to happen like what's happening today. It's like, it's nothing new. Things are just being more spotlighted as well. And it's becoming more like out there. People are getting bold, especially from like the language that was used in the last administration. People are like, oh, I'm gonna like, beat up this like, Asian dude like on the streets or Asian person who's vulnerable right now.
For sure. I mean, like the general population. I mean, in regards to like political views, in the American politics, it's like you're either a Democrat or a Republican, right?
Yeah.
And if you're one, that means you hate the other.
Yeah.
And the fact that the population is like 50-50, you know what I mean? In that sense, and it's really a divide. And so, as you said, like the last administration, when they spoke in regards to specifically the man in terms of the leader speaking against using the word like China virus or Kung Fu. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a must that we organize as a community. I mean, in regards to like the Filipino community, the onus is on us to fight anti-blackness in our own community, to really develop the consciousness of our community, to build unity, and to fight for the interests of our community.
Yeah.
And it's a must that we do that. So actually, like addressing racism and sexism means really addressing the interests, the workers' rights, livable wages, like rent control, right? Like affordable housing, access to education, all those things.
Yeah.
I mean, in essence, it's like trying to better the condition of our general community will impact everyone, including the most marginalized. So it's a must that we start from there when it comes to like our approach in organizing and, locally.
Yeah.
So,
like, it's so important, like, especially doing the work within our own communities at home. Like, we were talking about like, giving the language to our community, because our community just doesn't have the language sometimes to be able to articulate the common struggles of like, with other, our shared liberation with like, indigenous and black folks, especially, being able to uplift, the theory of like, once black and indigenous people are free, we're all free. It's all like a class thing, and being able to like just bring that back to our community, and like it's hard, it's hard, like especially with like all the people who are arguing about the anti-Asian hate, how what solidarity looks like and stuff, and it's white supremacy at work,
right?
People don't have the language to articulate of like why we're in the situation right now, and like why like our communities are being pitted against each other, and why we don't have the language.
But it's funny for me that a lot of people say, again, I'm engaged in like the clubhouse, in rooms and different engagement and conversations around, like people are saying, it's white supremacy. But I'm like, no one is saying white supremacy. What supremacy is? Yeah. So I have to go in. I have to go in and I'm like, white supremacy, racism, and sexism is rooted in the system.
Yeah.
The system is imperialism.
Yeah.
And sometimes no one wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
They just kind of like leave it at white supremacy without understanding that white supremacy is rooted in the economic system.
Yeah.
Economic system that are exploitative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, it's a lot. Like you can't like be able to explain and give them like the whole like books to like, give them the language, like, all the history. It's making this like information like and language consumable for everyone. It's because like, capitalism's at work. People aren't able to like stop what they're doing and like open all the history books they can.
Right.
But being able to like give that language, give that, like knowledge, so we can be able to build and show true solidarity, and being able to like articulate these issues so they don't happen again.
Right.
Like people like asking for like more policing, asking for more things, and it becomes counterintuitive like the last summer and stuff.
Right.
And it's like, like we gotta be able to like talk about it in our families and stuff, but it's hard being able to like, especially we were talking about that earlier about like not our survivalist instinct of like we don't want to like rock the boat and be able to like talk to things that we need to talk about with our family, because they could be the ones perpetuating that same stuff too.
For sure.
I remember I was at a conference too for organizing and stuff, and like I remember I was talking to this one dude. He no names, but he's a black organizer that works in or he lives in Daly City, works in the city, and he was just talking about like we do need to build solidarity, but I do see like that anti-blackness that's perpetuated by like the Filipino community in Daly City too, and like it's not like the everyday people, like when they side eye or all that, like the nuance, like the little things that happen, and it's like it's there. That kind of hit me too, because I'm like Daly City has hella Filipinos and I know a bunch of organizers that are like great out there, but also it's like keeping our family members accountable too, because you don't know what they're doing when they go to the grocery store,
Yeah.
But also like we don't know. We also live in that same fear as well too, because it's like
what I have I have this take on this issue of violence against Asians, and a lot of people are coming out the woodworks, like want to speak out on it, right? Which is great.
Yeah,
it's like, yo, this is the moment in time where we can call folks in, like, and be able to have a conversation. But my take, I have a take on this, that our economic mobility can no longer protect us.
Mm-hmm.
So people that are doing well, that might not care about the everyday shit that's happening.
Yeah.
That we're doing work already.
Yeah.
And now their economic mobility, their climb up the ladder doesn't protect them anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're Asian, period.
Yeah, like, once you realize that, it's like, oh, my money is like not gonna like save me,
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. So a lot of people are like, oh shit, like this has an impact on me, period, no matter where I'm at in regards to like the economic level, or economic condition. Like,
a lot. I mean, a lot of, especially like even Filipino Americans, a lot of Asian Americans in the community, like they're coming like to this issue, but also like a lot of them also do like, it's not their fault. We're raised up to believe like, economic success is success.
for sure.
But then also at the same time, like they're realizing that, or they're in a position to learn that some of them are also perpetuating the same thing.
And I think, again, the current situation is a great opportunity to actually be able to have a conversation and call people in essence, in regard to like understanding the systemic issue that's at play.
Yeah.
And being able to have a if you are willing to make changes, what can you contribute?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With whatever capacity you have. I'm like, hey, if you're rich, like send money.
Give that.
You know what I mean? We have grassroots organization that doesn't have any funding, period.
Yeah.
Like, yo, if you have resources, redirect those resources and make sure you support the people on the motherfucking ground.
If you got money right now, send some money to a grassroots organization.
Right?
Organizing on the ground today.
For sure. Again, this grassroots organization has been doing work for a long time on local issues that are addressing systemic issues. So make sure you search. And if you don't have to search, I'll let you know right now. Grassroots Filipino organizations are Anak USA, Malaya Movement, Gabriela USA, Kabataan Alliance, and there's so many more.
There's a bunch. There's a lot. I mean,
there's Lead Filipino. They're just locally. Locally, it's the best way to do the work.
Yeah.
And so find local organizations, grassroots that has historically have done work in regards to like social justice, economic and political work. You know what I mean? So that's important. So make sure you y'all check that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like in East Bay, I mean, we're a nonprofit. FAJ's there.
For sure.
FAJ.
Yeah, and nonprofits still need all these resources.
Yeah, we come from grassroots, like 1970s Third World Liberation Front movement type stuff. So that's
because nonprofits are always fighting for resources. Also,
yeah. Oh, that's another topic. Nonprofit industrial complex. That's
right?
That's another day.
Yeah, I actually brought that up on another episode in regards to there is a non-profit industrial complex.
Yeah.
Because what makes it an industrial complex, becomes a system in itself that necessarily address the root cause, but in a sense, kind of is a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Right? Not to say that the nonprofit is bad. Nonprofit is great work.
Yeah.
And there's direct resources that are needed in the community, and that is needed at the moment in time. It's a dire situation. But at the same time, in addition to, it will not end or dismantle the system. So our work has to be a liberation work.
Yeah, it's like, like when there's that conversation about like, oh, people shouldn't be doing this at protest, people shouldn't be doing that, but all people are needed.
Yes, there's like, all forms.
Yeah, there's different forms, different varying like levels and stuff that kind of like lead and build this movement and stuff. And like other people might be at different stages or of like their own like not of having a language or not having a language and stuff. But like, we can't put anyone down. Like, especially like those people like throwing bricks in the windows. Let them throw bricks in the windows. Let them do it.
Right. But yeah, I've been privileged to be able to like be touched in a sense with the organizations on the local level and like able to learn, because again, like I've shared many times how backward I was.
Yeah.
When was the first time you learned about systemic issue, and how did you like, you know what I mean? Like, what was that moment?
I think the first time, I took an ethnic studies class in high school, my freshman year.
Shout out to the teacher.
Shouts out to Ms. B, Asian American Studies.
Okay.
But also like one of my best friends too would always like call me into like conversations too, because her uncle was also a teacher, ethnic studies teacher, Mr. Santos. Shouts out to Santos.
Santos family, let's go.
And Selena.
Yeah.
But it kind of like helped me build my identity and stuff. And being more conscious, and I kind of like was more thirsty for it, because like I kind of like chased back to like like why like my family had to like come up, and like a lot of Filipino and immigrant families have to come up, and like why is that, like why are there families that like don't gotta worry about that, and it's like
that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and it's like, oh man, like it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. It's like it's like a YouTube rabbit hole, but like it's a rabbit hole that addresses society.
Yeah, but that is fucking beautiful. You are a result. Your consciousness is a result of ethnic studies in the K-12 system.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like without that, where do you think you would be in not understanding systemic issues?
Dude, it was, I'd be like, I was still perpetuating some like stuff I shouldn't be perpetuating. I still do today. Like we're all like works in progress.
Yeah, we're all in some ways, right? But there's the sense of like understanding more, right?
Yeah.
And so that really shows like the importance of ethnic studies, period.
It's super important.
And like, I know a lot of people say, oh, it starts in our own home. We should like educate ourselves, which is great. But that's on a one-on-one level. And within your family, yes, that's great. But I think there's a bigger community outside that we have no relationship with. So ethnic studies is under attack currently.
Yeah, it's always,
And I want to give out the statistics. Across the U.S., there are only 9 states out of the 50 that has a policy around ethnic studies. 9 out of the 50. And then out of the 9, those ethnic studies are all under attack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so again, like if we're talking about being able to educate people and understanding systemic issues and other struggles of other communities to be able to relate as a human being, ethnic study systemically could play out in a sense of across the U.S.
Yeah, like I feel like once it's like taken more of like as like a English, a mathematics class, because that's like world history.
Right.
If it's just like a like an add-on, like normalized like that, then like so many issues of like understanding. Because as long as you have like a basis of like understanding how history affects people, how like these colonial traumas still exist today and stuff. It's like once you have understanding of like one community, even if it's like not your own, like you start understanding like, oh, this is all like the same. Like our stories are kind of like all similar in a way. It's like, oh man, one day, keep fighting.
We gotta work. We gotta fight for that.
Yeah. I remember fighting. I was in college going to those like ethnic studies protests at SF State and stuff. And like even today with the bill that didn't, man. It's an ongoing fight.
It's an ongoing work, fight, and building a better community.
Yeah,
and it's definitely a inch by inch, closer to what we want to see, in a sense. But yeah, anyways, what's going on?
Yeah, speaking of that, the pandemic, I'm kind of like revisiting skills and stuff, and like how this relates to like organizing and stuff. Like contribute your talent if you can too, because there's so many like ways to get involved, whether that be like making graphics, just going out to organize things,
contribute your skills,
your talents and stuff. whatever capacity you can, because I totally get it. Like capitalism kind of like got us down, like worrying about our financials. But if you can, you have capacity. Read a book, talk to your parents. I'd be having conversations with my parents every now and then too.
And learn, continue to learn. I have never went to college. I'm just like a high school graduate, and how I learn all this systemic issue is through organizing. Yeah, through the community. Yeah, like you can learn so much outside the educational institutions.
So much.
You know what I mean?
Much you can learn.
And like I talk to people that are like with a high education of masters and doctorates and shit. Yeah. And I'm having conversation with them and I can have an understanding. Yes. But I don't have a PhD. I don't have, because I'm learning all these things from a grassroots level of organizing. And so just highlighting people, like if you're curious to learn more, again and again, like look for your grassroots on your community and like join, participate, contribute your skills. Yeah, there are so many ways.
Yeah, and also that knowledge. Talking about the knowledge too.
Yeah,
like you just need to shout out to my doctor friends just giving me information. I don't have to get a doctorate now because you're giving me that information. But having these conversations with your friends. Shouts out to the debates I had with the homies about different propositions and issues on Instagram. Stressful, but it's doing the work.
Engagement comes in many forms. You know what I mean? But so do you have any questions for me?
Dang.
What would you ask me?
What's your advice to also as someone who has been a local owner and stuff, but also
say that again?
As a local a streetwear band, trying to come up, but also at the same time you're organizing as well. So how do you kind of represent the organizing part through the streetwear part?
How do I represent the brand and still at the same time build with the local folks that are also trying to come up, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm doing it right now.
I'm trying to we started in October, September, so
I'm doing it right now. This is building a relationship, organizing. In essence, is building relationship.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We're organizing, not networking.
Right? Organizing is building relationship, period. Yeah. And before you actually dump all these languages that talks about the systemic issue, you have to have a relationship with them. Yeah. You have to build that relationship. And so in terms of answering the question, I still represent my brand, right? This is what I do, and it's I'm a cultural worker. Yeah. And I use the cultural work to able to build that relationship with people, bring them in terms of interest of culture, Filipino culture, history. Yeah. And then once I'm close enough that I'm building that relationship, the one-on-one, then I can talk about the community, community issues, community, the things that we face and the things that we can do. And so I'm doing it.
Oh, that's good. I'm doing it right now.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any last words? Words of wisdom?
Dang. I mean, honestly, whatever you do, make sure you bring who you are with that. Because it's I feel in today, whatever you're trying to do, I haven't even started using or calling myself a creative until I don't know. I still don't call myself that because I feel it's so loaded and stuff. Right. But whatever you do, whatever you create, whether it be for social movements, organizing your own financial
mobility.
Yeah, mobility, trying to just survive out here. Just bring your authentic self, bring your stories, bring who you are with that too, and build with that. Because at the same time, when you build who you are. You find out who you are a little bit more. So it's it's all working in tandem once you connect. It's intersectionality. Once you understand all these issues, social issues are interrelated. You get the bigger picture of things, and that's the same thing with self. If you understand how everything's related to you and self, and you build your own story and you build your own life out here, and then you just you're able to come up. And I know it's it's hard to do that, but it's whatever capacity we have, because you know the system doesn't allow us to be able to freely express, freely be who we are. But when you can do it, when you can like bring yourself authentically, you can do it. Because I know we got a code switch out here all the time,
right?
And I was working on Scrum out a code switch all the time. But yeah, you just be you.
Be beautiful.
Like, be beautiful.
Yeah, I think again, like, you know, it's a must. First and foremost, before we express ourselves, we have to learn about ourselves.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that saying of no history, no self, no history, no self.
Oh.
And so the best way to express yourself in the most authentic way is to learn about yourself and the history of your people and understanding how you come this far and what led to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's why we study history. And,
Let's go.
we gotta learn our own history, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for coming through.
Yeah,
from the Yun, driving all the way to San Jose.
Yeah, it's always great to chop it up, be able to like continue to build, like you said. We're doing out here.
Build. Let's go. Let's build. Check out Anak .vintage.
Yes.
Check out the website. Check out the IG.
Yes,
make sure to follow, comment, Blazi blah. Build with the motherfucker. You know
follow,
what I mean?
Follow. Make sure you follow, subscribe to
sure.
the podcast.
Blazi blah. Let's go. Hey.
Donate to your grassroots org.
Let's go.
Get involved. That's it.